Hello and welcome to The Property Show, our weekly look at all things real estate related. I'm Lucy Taylor in for Siobhan, who's going to be back in the hot seat from next week. But this afternoon I'll be taking you through some of the major happenings in the property market, both locally and further afield. And as usual, I'm of course joined by my able co-hosts who are going to steer me through the tricky real estate waters. Mike Small, a partner at VSM Consulting, who'll be sharing his macro and microeconomic opinions. Mike, thanks for joining me.
Good afternoon, Lucy. Thank you.
And a little later on, we will be joined by Ludmila Yamalova, managing partner at HPL Yamalova and Plewka Legal Consultants, who will, of course, be talking us through the legalities of property. And as ever, both Mike and Ludmila are ready and willing to answer any question. But for now, I'm very pleased to welcome into the studio our guest for the first part of the show, Martin Seward-Case, a partner at the Project and Construction Management Consultancy RPM by day, but also a chartered surveyor elected by the UAE chartered members to the RICS World Governing Council that sits in London. Martin, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Lucy. Thanks, Lucy. Sounds like a mouthful. Hi, Mike. Good to be back.
Nice to see you.
It was a mouthful, but I got the whole lot in there, didn't I?
You did.
The whole shebang. Well. And you are here to lead us in, starting the week with a bang, with one of the biggest stories, really. Sentiment in the UAE real estate market improving during the second quarter of 2012, apparently being boosted by rising availability of funds.
Yeah, fantastic. Where do we start with this? We've got, on the macro side, it's really good to have Mike here because he can always steer us back and put our feet back on the ground later. But
yes, I'm sure he will.
On the micro side, and if we're looking internally, this survey that I think you're talking about is something published by RICS, which is information taken from membership worldwide. The RICS sees itself as pretty much the conscience of industry in the property industry. One of we are a not-for-profit organisation. To be very clear about this, we're sort of on the same level and standing as lawyers and doctors. So we think in the UK.
Completely objective.
Absolutely. And in all seriousness, though, the one of our greatest drivers and one of the things that we stand by most is the protection of the protection of the public and their interests. So we take the consumer as being uninformed, and we take it upon ourselves to give them the best impartial advice. That being said, I haven't answered your question yet.
I was just going to say it's going to work very well.
Sounds
the uneducated consumer.
So the study on the sentiment is taken from members worldwide. There was I think somewhere between 40 and 60 responded for the UAE, and on the main, those that did respond have actually given positive feedback on it. Now, if we strip it down into what it is, there is a little bit of a dose of salt that needs to be taken with this because we all as business folk will actually talk up where things are good and not necessarily say anything when things aren't necessarily very good. That being said, we are definitely seeing a change. 2012 is completely different to the last 2 years, thank goodness. And from our industry side, it's really, really refreshing to see that certainly Dubai, is going back to the knitting and actually looking at its original drivers that made this place what it is, and not a property speculator-fueled sort of place that it was in 2006, 7 and 8. So
no.
the corner has definitely been turned, and what we should take away from the survey is that sentiment has changed, investor confidence is marginally further up. I would temper it by saying it would be useful to put the statistics against that survey which relate to availability of both commercial and residential stock, because that's quite different to us saying everything's great, good and wonderful, because there's a very, very high oversupply on both sides still.
Absolutely, and there's more coming online, I think. But by the end of 2014, we're going to have masses more residential and commercial space out there in the markets. I mean, I would imagine that will have quite a significant impact on the positive sentiment.
Yeah, again, it's very easy to make those general statements, and yes, that's correct at a high level, but you drop down immediately, you start seeing the layering effect and the different quality of various offerings in various places. Yeah,
the different regions of Dubai and the UAE, indeed, they're performing in vastly different manners, aren't they?
Very much so. I mean, residential areas like Meadows and Springs have really got a great, solid product offering. You've got Business Bay that's has bits and pieces that are working. Certainly DIFC is also working as well. So there are areas that are really, really quite strong. There's other areas which are further afield, which haven't really taken off. In fact, we can all see master developments around us that haven't gone, but that's for another topic and discussion.
I was just going to ask you to talk about them, actually.
No. A bridge too far, yeah.
Yes, well, we are talking about the positivity angle here. First of all, tell us why there is all this positivity. What are the driving factors you mentioned there?
Well, I think a lot of it has been tied to folks sitting back and watching and waiting. And Mike, I'm sure, will be able to give lots of examples later on why that's good and actually why more of it perhaps should be done in certain sectors. In Dubai, there was obviously a massive volume turned down when things started going skew. And with hindsight now, we could actually look at that and say that was quite effective, because what it did do was take some of the hysteria out of the market, albeit that the level of speculation had virtually gone out of control and was absolutely damaging the core fundamentals of the local economy. So it needed to be redressed or addressed, and what happened by them doing nothing effectively and going silent for the length of time they did, while some might have argued at the time it wasn't terribly constructive, I personally think that it helped take some of the hysteria out, because there was a lot of extreme negativity about this emirate, which I don't think was necessarily warranted. Mike might differ slightly.
No.
You can see he's itching to jump in.
I've never been critical of Dubai. I'm critical of some of the people within Dubai who think that property is just something to be made money out of, and therefore they drive up prices to ridiculous levels, which means that ordinary people, real people who want to live in Dubai, people who want to make Dubai, people who want to grow Dubai, can't live here. And to me, that's a nonsense.
Well, what's both of your reactions to, I mean, the recent, we saw Emaar putting extra properties on sale, and they sold like hotcakes, and there was a lot of speculation that they were being bought to be flipped very quickly, and indeed that was happening in some instances. Isn't that going back slightly to the age of hysteria you mentioned there, Martin?
Martin might know more about that, because that was the views I think we looked at, and it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago on this
yes,
show.
And
what we tried to understand was, first of all, I was told that there was a 1-year hold period, that people couldn't flip the property within a year. Then I was told no, that was given up the day that it started, because they could realise they could sell a lot more if they gave it up. And people were saying, no, I'm not going to buy it unless that's given up. So I don't know. Martin may know a lot better, because I don't actually know the facts behind that. In the end, we never really got to the bottom of it.
Thanks for the hospital pass. No, the facts
my rugby training.
It would be very likely when they offered it would have been careless for them not to put that caveat. I don't know the particulars of the case, but they should have definitely put that caveat in place regarding the flipping period limitation. That being said, Emaar are also in a very, very envious position of having this almost shadow support, even though publicly they don't have the support of the Emirate of Dubai as a government. They are a PJSC, so therefore they stand on their own feet. There is a perception in the market that they have this extra capability or leverage in terms of security. Wrongly or rightly so, that still exists. That being said, they also are very, very good at what they do. They know how to put these products out there, and they know how to position them, and they know how to market and place them extremely well. So as a developer, they are very, very far ahead of a lot of the other developers around, and that has obviously affected their offering. When
and
they
they've
put
got
an
a good
offering
track
out
record, haven't they, Martin? I mean, they're proven, unlike a lot of developers in Dubai, Emaar are at least proven.
They are, and I mean, they're one of these developers who, as we were saying earlier, there are patches in Dubai that just perform excellently and continue to do so, and Emaar developments do tend to be in that category, don't they?
Absolutely. So going back to your original question.
Yes, back to the start.
The sentiment has clearly changed, and certainly from the construction industry side, which is really where my roots are, and we're extremely pleased to see it. As a small business on project management and cost management, that side of things, we've seen a real change. And where it's happening, which perhaps won't be on the mainstream radar of Joe Public who's listening in today, and that is business to business. And on business to business, we're seeing small areas very, 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 very positive for ourselves, us brickies, and that is where you have things such as refurbishment. Now, the refurbishment market has always been, for ourselves, an indicator of what's happening, because those blue chips who sat on the sidelines going, well, it's not necessarily building a 60-story tower that tells you what the industry is doing. Where things do change and where people put their hands in their pockets is saying, hold on a second, let's relocate. Now, this has got a story in itself. What you have is those unfortunate blue chips who'd arrived here in 2007, 2008 had to put their hand in both pockets to get a rather expensive piece of real estate to move into.
Indeed.
They're now going, wow, look what's available. Now, a lot of these guys are upgrading now and moving into effectively better premises for the same money. And we're seeing this in our business because we do a lot of managing of refurbishments and not physical building, but we're the consultants who run it. And we can see a lot of very, very interesting brand names who are doing this now, who are moving and consolidating and expanding, actually. So that to us is good because they are investing. This still costs money to do refurbishments. It also tells us that the industries that we in property and construction rely on, which are blue chips, and we serve. We are not the industry. We are serving people. We are serving consumers.
Yeah.
And the brand names that are doing these things, the fact that they are putting their hands in their pockets and investing is, I think, for ourselves, a very good sign that things are moving.
Absolutely.